It's the most loving thing you can do for yourself and the people you love is render yourself more conscious. Archetypal wisdom for me is the number one route to render yourself more conscious in relationship to yourself and others.
Yo, 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 lovers. Welcome to Sex, Love, and Everything in Between. We're the O'Neills. You're here with Meg and Jacob.
And this is the place we have really uncensored conversations about sex, intimacy, and relationships. We're super excited you're here. Enjoy this episode.
Hey, lovers. Welcome back to Sex, Love, and Everything in Between. We've moved the studio out to the garage and we've got it all set up here because baby is on the way. Still not here yet, any day now. But today I've got a really awesome man in the studio with me. He's a brother that I met at a men's retreat over a year ago now. It'd probably be just over a year. And following on from that, we had a few conversations. I then went and did a quiz that he has through his body of work, Archetypal Relationships, which really blew my mind. And then from there, I went and did his 5-day training. And from that training, what I found was that I understood myself better. I understood my partner better. I understood our relationship better. And I was able to make some really significant, subtle changes in our relationship dynamic that really just dissolved some of the challenges we were having. And that for me was like mind-blowing. And for someone who has struggled with trying to read all the information and get it all into my head and then implement it, this was a really, really beautiful structure and framework that allowed me to make changes that I didn't even know I could make. So I've got Rory Kilmartin here. Thanks for being here, bro.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome, man. Tell me about, so Archetypal Relationships is your body of work. Can you give us a little rundown on where it came from, why it's so powerful, and how you deliver it to the world?
Yes, my body of work. I'm a relationship researcher. I've been, my first thought about figuring out human relationships, I was 12 years old and I've never stopped. So I just turned 50. So 38 years now, I've been fascinated with discovering the information that actually makes a difference. Because you may have noticed there's an enormous amount of information out there that actually makes people slightly more confused, is superficial in nature and doesn't really help. And not that everyone's not well-meaning, but there's a big difference between the information that actually makes a difference and the information that sounds good. And I realized only in the last few years that that's what I've been doing. And then 18 years ago, having spent a lot of time figuring a lot out, I realized that I was still missing major pieces of the puzzle. And then around the age of 32, I started a research project into what I first called the survival archetypes. I was studying breakdowns and I began to observe the repeating observable patterns that are different in humans. And because I was studying breakdowns, I was interested in our triggered and imbalanced and reactive behavior. And I discovered what I now call the 4 either relationship archetypes or survival archetypes.
Yeah, I like what you said around the survival archetypes, because that's what I understand when it comes to, like, when I'm triggered or I'm reactive, it's a part of me that wants to, like, I'm in a survival, I'm in an activated, or my nervous system is like fight or flight. It's like I have to, there's a part of me that believes this is life or death. And it can be really confronting for me, especially with the baby coming. I've seen parts of myself that are reactive that I haven't seen for a while. And it's like when there's a life event that is occurring in our relationship, a major life event like having a baby, or when we got married, or even if we go on a holiday, it's so crazy to see what little things I can react to that I wasn't aware of. And it's really a survival. It's a part of me that wants to, I don't know if this is the way that you see it, but for me, it's like I'm trying to keep myself safe from feeling something.
Exactly. And this is the human condition. I mean, you have to be a spectacularly, uniquely raised human to not have a version of what you just described. So let's go right back to the basics. We're all born, if we're human, we're born human, right? So we all look like humans, right? as opposed to a donkey or a dog or a sloth, right? We all look like humans. And we all think that we run the same human operating system. And that's the first misdirection. What's much more accurate is to recognize that over the last 200 to 250 million years, as mammals have evolved on Earth, we as mammals have slowly evolved to the point that we are. And there are 4 very observable aspects of the human psyche. They're also in animals and horses and dogs and other animals, but I don't go down that path. So it's almost like a mammalian aspects of the operating system. But in humans, they're very observable. And there's 4 different, very clearly different aspects of the psyche. So we are born with a strong innate leaning in that direction. Like 10% of us are left-footed or left-handed. We're 50-50 biological male and female for the purpose of procreation. About 1% of us have traits of psychopathy. Nature apparently knows best. But we are born with a strong leaning into one of these archetypal realms, and it shapes everything about our lives. So what happens then is when circumstances arise that occur like they are anti our archetypal nature or the agenda of each of these archetypal realms, that occurs as very stressful for our nervous system. And then we try and survive those circumstances.
I take it personally, very much so, when someone does something that doesn't fit my agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. So to go back then, so when we're children, and let's say someone's born a gentle child, like I'm a gentle man, I'm a gentle person. I've always been gentle. I care about connection. I care about kindness. I feel very uncomfortable if somebody around me is, their emotions aren't being respected or aware of. So the gentle people care about emotional safety and emotional well-being. The wolf warrior types care about people's physical safety, their external world safety. But let's say a gentle child is raised in a home where there's some heat and volume and slightly bullying energy. That's very traumatic for the gentle nervous system, and then they have to survive that. And how a gentle person survives that kind of dominant bullying energy is they appease and placate and spend all their time worried about that person's mental well-being than their own. And then we internalize these survival responses. And just to blow your mind, all of these survival responses are already pre-coded in the psyche. So that's part of the archetypal realm. We then internalize those and think, this is how we succeed in life. This is how we win in life. Anytime any behavior like this occurs, we behave like this and we will survive and win. Now, when you're 5 or 7 or 12, that kind of makes sense. But when you're 47 and 54 and all the numbers in between, it's dysfunctional. It leads to a dysfunctional life.
What you sort of the gentle child that is, I'm almost like, seeing a part of me, or like I'm looking back on my childhood and like, the way that I would succeed in life was to control or like manage other people's emotional states. Super vigilant in that. And I would I'd be very, very aware of what other people were feeling. And if someone wasn't feeling good, I would do whatever I could to return them to a point of like neutrality or happiness. And I took that on as like that was my role to play. And that was what actually allowed me to feel safe.
Exactly. And so, exactly the same for me. When a young child is impacted by the changing mood of a volcanic person, someone that's easily angry, easily raises the volume, easily expresses frustration, the gentle child will dedicate their lives to managing the mood of the adult. Yeah. And then they'll do that for the rest of their lives with other humans around them. So they never really quite live their lives.
Yeah, that's been a big theme in my life, massively. And it's been a constant, even having a child coming into the world, it's really, I've had such confronting feelings of like, how do I look after, how do I make sure this thing never ever experiences pain or suffering? Or there's a part of me, even when someone else is going through something that I know they need to go through, that I want to save them from, there is a discomfort in my body. I'm now aware of it, and I can hold my center and not engage and just trust or regulate myself. But I know that in those moments, there is a part of me that's uncomfortable with someone else's emotional process.
Yes. Yeah, because you're the kind of person that not only cares about people's emotional well-being, but probably also their physical well-being.
Yeah, definitely.
And as you're becoming a father, this is going to kick in to whole new levels, bro. Whole new levels of wanting to go to war with anyone that might put you and your loved ones in particular, at harm.
Yes.
And so this is super interesting then. So we have these 4 aspects of the human psyche. So what are the other ones? The gentle folk, like myself and many others, we care about people's emotional safety. We care about people not being mistreated or etc. And the gentle people typically don't like conflict, don't like having difficult conversations, would rather sweep it under the carpet and hope it dissolves and just stay connected. The exact opposite of that I call the gentle folk the sheep, right? Because they have big fluffy coats, they like flocking together, they don't bark or growl or have claws, they don't really have any offensive weapons. The only weapon they have is turning away and turning off love, which is exactly what the gentle folk do. They disconnect, and they have little passive aggressive, which is basically conveying disapproval without speaking. Because if I spoke up, you might not like me, but I want you to know that you've disappointed me. And then you'll apologize, and then I'll reconnect when I'm ready. It's really the only thing that the annoyed or offended sheep do. Is familiar in any way, shape or form?
That is literally, Meg will say this too. She's like, you are open, and then all of a sudden you close and you're unopenable. I just shut down.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to now understand that you've done something wrong and that I'm upset. And until you figure that out and apologize for what it is, I will not give love.
It's the only weapon the gentle folk have is turning off love. Now, what's the total opposite of that? So the gentle people feel a version of, if I speak up and express my disapproval, I will die. On some level, there's going to be an exit. So the child doesn't recognize the difference between a biological death and an existential death. They just think they're going to die. Then we internalize that, and here we are decades later, and we're still not speaking up to the adult or the person because we feel like we're going to die. Now, the total opposite of that are the wolves and wolf cubs, right? The wolf cub typically observes in their childhood weakness being mistreated. Gentle parents being abused or mistreated or treated unfairly. And this makes the wolf cub very uncomfortable. Like, weakness is bad, timidity is bad. I've got to make everybody stronger. And I've got to speak up. So the wolf cub thinks, if I don't speak up, not only might I die, but other people might get hurt. And to the natural wolf warrior, if anybody gets hurt on their watch, it's actually a fate worse than death. So they have to speak up, and they are going to be direct, and they're going to express their issues and frustrations bluntly, because that's how they're wired. If I don't say this, I can't relax all evening. So it's the total opposite. Now, the brain meld is wolves and sheep marry all the time, but their underlying archetypal communication system is completely opposite.
Yes.
This is a problem. This poses issues.
Is it because like the gentle sheep think that they've married it? They're like, oh, this person's a sheep as well, and the wolf's like, that's a wolf as well. Like, is it because we're unaware that we have those different operating systems and we just assume that we're both the same a lot of the time?
Yes. So here's a big piece of the puzzle. our archetypal agenda and nature is so absolute in our being. I don't have words to describe it. It's the entire paradigm, every fiber of our being, every neuron. I don't know how to describe it enough to convey it's the absolute way we see the world. So, for example, the gentle person thinks that all anger is bad. If you express irritation, frustration, or cross energy, it's really bad because it's violating emotional well-being. Essentially, the gentle person thinks this is a committed, intentional, purposeful violation of my soul. Just expressing a little whiff of irritation in the kitchen because you're in the way and I'm trying to put plates away. That's how sensitive the gentle folk are. Now, the wolf cubs, they're like, I have to express irritation. It's how I convey things are important to me. It's how I keep you safe. Like, don't leave the gate open. Okay, good. Now we've cleared that up. You're not going to leave the gate open, gate being the front door. There's a dog, there's a child. We don't leave the gate open. But if somebody repeatedly leaves the gate open, you have to express that clearly and directly. Because that's normal communication for a wolf. That's how we keep everybody safe. Hey, pick up your gun. We're going to war. Like, don't leave your gun. Change your shoes. Like, you've got to be direct, right? We're at war on some level, right? And these two worlds collide. But the point, is that we project that archetypal world onto all humans. The gentle folk project any ungentle language or behavior is evil onto all humans. Wolves project, if you're weak or timid or sloppy, or you're not switched on, you're not paying attention, and you leave the gate open, which is a metaphor for allowing any form of danger, you are the problem, and I will address you. And that's my highest form of love. So the highest form of love for a gentle person is never expressing anger, irritation, or cross energy, being constantly forgiving, understanding, and accepting. The highest form of love for the wolf warrior realm is to tell you where you're being weak and to help you get stronger. That's really interesting. And these people marry all the time? Yes, they marry all the time.
Is there a reason that they marry? Is there a why those two? I mean, polarity maybe, but what is the attraction piece?
Yeah, it's like, how many podcasts do we have?
We'll do a 10-part series of this.
Attraction is a really interesting subject because attraction is, apart from really obvious reasons, it's almost involuntary and it's not a conscious choice. So often people are attracted to people. There's different types of attraction, right? But the attraction I'm talking about is, I want to bond with you for life, merge all my finances, have children, raise children, which is a spectacularly difficult thing to do, climb mountains together, and I want to align myself with you for the rest of my life. Okay, that doesn't happen very often, and there's mechanisms going on. So from an archetypal perspective, the wolf realm sees a gentle person, and again, this has got nothing to do with gender, and they see someone they can protect for life, and they get to express their archetypal agenda for life. The person that wants to protect somebody and keep them safe is not quite so attracted to somebody that does not need protecting. It doesn't have that same opportunity.
Yes.
The gentle person is like, you don't understand bedding. I'm going to make your life soft and exquisite and comfortable. I'm going to feed you delicious food and make your life glorious. You're going to experience bliss with me. And I get to express love into your world because it doesn't come so naturally for you. And then two people get together and it's like they get to express their archetypal agenda for life. What could possibly go wrong? Well, these two agendas are often completely oppositional.
And I'm assuming that they work until they don't. Is that how it works? It's like, is it like maybe that protection in the beginning feels nice, or maybe that soft bedding and the nourishing meals feels nice?
during those opening months, those expressions in each other's lives feel fabulous.
Yes.
The honeymoon period is defined in many ways. The best way is all the biochemicals that we get flooded by, especially phenolphthaleamine, which is the big one, and oxytocin. But it also, we feel good because this energy that we're not naturally have a natural affinity to is present in our lives. And that's all fine while the biochemicals are running. But as soon as that passes and we're back to the various missions of our lives, the differences show up.
Yes.
They show up because they're oppositional.
Yeah, been there. And we'll continue to meet those parts, no doubt, as we go into this next season with children in our life, or the child in our lives. What's next? Where do we want to go? Do we want to talk about the other archetypes, or do you want to talk about how potentially these two archetypes can, the opposing agendas actually move through that and find solutions, or what do you feel is next?
Let's talk about the other two first.
Let's do that.
Just for the viewers. So
Yes.
the wolves and the sheep are naturally attracted to each other. The wolves take care of physical safety, external world safety. They want to be on a mission. They want to get things done, move things forwards. The sheep are the gentle people. They take care of internal world safety, emotional safety, and they want people to slow down and drop out of their spreadsheets and come into bliss and kindness and oxytocin. So the other two I call the gorilla and the fox, and they are, in my diagram, like the north and the south. So the gorilla is the survival archetype of the sovereign realm, and they are also in the external world. So they care about details, planning, the future. Gorillas wake up and think about the future.
Yes.
When do we need to do the tax? When do I got to rego the car? When do I need to get the shopping in? How much milk is left in the fridge? Like the details.
Yes.
To make life work. For who? For everyone. They care about everyone. The foxes want to live in the moment. The foxes are in the internal world. The sheep and the foxes, two of the archetypal natures, care about the internal world experience of humans. Two of the archetypes care about the external world of humans. So the gorillas and the wolves care about external world. The gorillas care about the integrity of systems going into the future and workability.
Yes.
Wolves care about the integrity of people. They're like the bouncers. Throughout history, they've been at the edge of the village.
Yeah.
Checking, are you a con man? Are you a snake oil salesman? Are you a Viking?
Yeah.
Snake or a bear?
Yes.
And I'm going to lay down my life to protect the innocent in the village because that's how I'm wired.
Yes.
That's it. So they're the external world natures. The foxes care about ideas. They live in the cathedrals of the ether. All the great inventions and ideas and art and poetry and architecture and innovation and inventions come from ideas. Very much the fox world. Art, music, culture, architecture, the whole thing. And that's the world they want to live in. And to live in that world, you're not in the future. You're not in a to-do list. You're not thinking about when I've got to submit my tax return. You're in this moment where there is no time.
Yep.
Foxes want to live in a timeless world filled with wonder and thoughts and ideas. Gorillas and foxes marry all the time. I was speaking on a cruise recently. I was invited to speak on a private cruise. There was 35 people. There were 5 partners, 5 couples on the cruise. All 5 of them were gorilla fox couples. And it dawned on them at the end of the first part of my 2-day talk. They were like, Rory, we're all in a relationship together. They were sitting in what I call a quadrant, facing each other. And all of our partners are over there. So I was wondering how long it was going to take for you to notice that. So I hope I'll see you tomorrow, because that was the end of my time. Gorillas and foxes marry a lot. Wolves and sheep marry a lot. It's not absolute. It's the vast majority of the time. We don't marry our own archetypal nature. More often than not, we marry our opposite. There's many reasons. From an attraction reason, we often form long-term pair bonding with our opposite archetype because we contribute these pieces into each other's lives. Mm-hmm. The other reason is we often attract somebody that represents the caregiver or parent that we struggled with the most. Mm-hmm. Why? Because maturation is the prime directive of life itself. You could argue after procreation, fine, replication in nature. Mm-hmm. But we're here. What's the prime directive? Growing up.
Yeah.
Maturing. So there's some developmental agenda. That is, we often are in relationship with somebody that is not the same archetype as us.
Yeah, one of the things that Meg and I say is like our relationship is like is our greatest spiritual practice. It's where most of the growth occurs. We go and do we sit in ceremony, we go and do a workshop, personal development, but it always comes back to like the actual real life application in the moments in our relationship where we feel the greatest growth occurs. And
yes.
That is because we are opposite. We are in that, like you said, the opposites marry. Like that's very much what Meg and I have done. We've attracted each other for whatever reason, her being this, me being this, and then we've come together, and through the last 10 years, it's been 10 years since we've been together actually this month, and we've experienced time and time again this maturation or this evolution of our relationship where we thought we'd gotten to the point where like, okay, cool, this is it. And then another layer will reveal itself, and then another layer. And that's been an ongoing practice for us. And do you feel that people get to a certain point and they just exist alongside each other, like with marriages? Or is it that they get to a certain point and it's like, okay, this is when divorce happens? Or is there a specific kind of, I guess, sequence that occurs?
There's a number of observable patterns.
Yeah.
Let's point out the obvious one. Sometimes people just marry the wrong person.
Yes.
It's that there's no more developmental value.
Yes.
You just married the wrong person.
Complete, yeah.
And it's okay. And let's try and resolve this with as little pain and suffering as possible. But let's assume we're talking about the category of people that would really like it to work. They believe they're with the right person and they're experiencing unexplainable breakdowns. It's painful, but nobody wants to leave.
There's a willingness.
Absolute willingness. Yeah. There's no desire to leave. The desire is actually to make sense of what's going on.
Yes.
Archetypal wisdom, which is my term of affection for the body of knowledge that I discovered, is for me the best information in the world. I've never found or discovered anything that comes close to explaining why kind, well-meaning, benevolent people take each other into hell. Mm-hmm. Because kind, well-meaning, intentioned people don't wake up thinking, right, over the next 5 years, I'm going to take us both into hell. That's not the plan. But it so often happens. And look, explaining why unpleasant people create unpleasant experiences is not challenging. That's not the great challenge of relationship researchers like myself. The number one problem that the best researchers are attempting to solve is to provide a coherent, easy to understand answer as to why good, kind people suffer so much. Mm-hmm. Because that, if you can answer that question well, you can help a lot of people.
Yes.
And that's what archetypal wisdom and archetypal relationships, for me, is the number one body of knowledge to answer that question.
It was really cool on the 5-day training. There were a couple of couples on the calls, and it was really cool to see almost like the light bulb moments when you'd explain something and they'd both be like, look at each other and be like,
yeah.
And what I felt when I was in that space with the other people on your training was like everyone had that there was a well-meaning intent. There was we want this to work. and we're coming up against things that we don't understand, or that there's an information overload from Google and the internet and all of these different ways, shapes, and quick fixes that, are being sold to us. But really what we're looking for is a deeper understanding of what's going on so we can move through it, not to get over it as quickly as possible, but so we can actually, for me, it's about how can we actually find a framework that allows us to understand ourselves, understand our partners, and then create harmony.
Exactly.
And that's it's so easy to think, I've got to fix this problem. But the thing is that life is going to present you with challenges ongoing. Those challenges don't just stop all of a sudden. Well, for me, they haven't. And what I understand is if I have the right frameworks and tools and the right practices, then I can continually relate with life and work towards a harmonious experience. And alignment, I guess, is what I'm like, how far out of alignment am I, and what needs harmonizing? And having the right framework is so important.
Yeah, very good. So let's build on a comment that we made earlier, which is this attempting to express the degree to which is this the absolute worldview of born by our archetypal nature. And to make sure I remember my point, but just so we're clear, no autopsy in human history has ever written down, we found their archetypal nature and it was this.
Yes.
It's just invisible. It's not in language. You can't find it in the autopsy. You can't find it. You can't find the operating system of an iPhone. It's it's not there. You can't see it. It doesn't explain itself. You can see the apps that it runs.
Yes.
Meaning we can see the beliefs and opinions of the human. We can see those. You can ask someone to write down, what do you value? I don't like chain smoking. I don't like racism. I like sport. Those are like the apps on a phone, right? You can write down the stuff but our archetypal nature is in the invisible world and it has no language, just like an operating system of a phone. So I want to make sure I don't lose that point. To build on that point, it's our absolute worldview. Okay. Each of those archetypal natures has a survival toolbox. And it's a specific set of tools that are pre-programmed into the operating system. So let's take so gorillas, for example, their toolbox is when people are not following the plan, when they're not cooperating, they lose their sense of humor, they get very direct, they start being slightly bossy and tell people what to do and very insistent.
What kind of careers do the gorillas sort of lean toward?
Leadership, CEOs, accountants, because there's detail. Financial accountants, corporate accountants, stuff like that. And parents, mothers.
Yes.
And because you have to deal with all the details. Quick story, you'll like this one. I once worked with a client. His wife said on the way, has he got to get some nappies? He goes, yeah, I've got it. Came home with no nappies. Shops are closed. And she's like, you're in charge tonight. He goes, fine. And of course, at 2 a.m., it was the proverbial shit show. Yeah, no nappies. And it's everywhere. And he's on his hands and knees at 2 a.m., learning a very valuable lesson. When your wife says, you've got to bring something home, it's best if you bring it home. So he finally got to the value of that. But here's the thing. We have this toolbox. And that's the only toolbox we have as we go through our lives. So back to your point, it's when two different archetypal natures are jarring, each goes to the only toolbox they've got. Over and over. It's the same fight, different day.
Yes.
It's always the same fight. Okay. 99.9. I don't like absolutes.
Yeah.
Pretty much, nearly always. The same fight, different day. And what's the fight? It's two different archetypal natures creating friction. Using the same survival toolbox and doubling down. You look around, maybe there's some other thing I could do. No, I'll really use this tool better today than I've done for the last 30 years. And maybe this time, if I disconnect and don't express my disapproval and sulk, maybe this time my sulking will actually make you want to apologize and reconnect with me. Or the other one, for those that recognize themselves as sheep or gentlefolk, imaginary role play conversations. This is the world of the sheep, because they don't want to speak up, because then somebody might not like me. So they role play these imaginary conversations for hours, often every day. And the joke is, maybe next year you'll get these imaginary role play conversations just right, and everything will start working, because that's the only tools in the toolbox. Mm-hmm. And here we are decades later, attempting to navigate our lives with the same tools that we found as a very upset, scared child.
Over and over and over and over and over and over again.
And the people that we love the most have to endure this recurring cycle of dysfunctional attempts.
Is this obviously you said before, that's where, sometimes it's just the wrong person. Sometimes. Other times there's people who are willing to work on it. But from what I've also seen, I've seen people that just literally endure suffering. It becomes almost like the relationship becomes a stalemate in a way. And I've seen this in certain family members. I'm not going to name any names, but I've seen this in different dynamics, relationships with people that have been together 30, 40, 50 years. And it sort of gets to a point where it's like a stalemate, and they're like, well, this is as far as we get. This is as much. We're just going to kind of exist alongside each other. And
yeah, sadly, one of the optimum strategies for long-term success is lowering your expectations all the way down to the absolute minimum acceptable.
Yes.
That's no strategy for me. That's not appealing. That doesn't appeal to me at all. So a big part of the problem with these archetypal natures is that whilst they express our absolute gift to the world, they also come with an Achilles heel.
Yes.
And we become, what's the expression? We dig our entrenched.
Yes.
We become entrenched and stuck, because so many expressions of someone's behavior that is inconsistent with our agenda leaves us feeling absolutely helpless, and there's nothing to be done. So it's absolute apathy, resignation, and entrenchment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, not to brag, people come and do this work who've been in relationships for decades. Often they've been fighting, sometimes daily, for years. Mm-hmm. And they stop fighting overnight. Because archetypal wisdom explains every fight you've ever had inside 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So it's about a couple of hours just to lay out some fundamentals. And then people are like, you've explained every fight we've ever had. It's not even lunch on day one. It's like, yep. Yeah. Archetypal wisdom is fundamental information, which means it's true and accurate all the time for all people, like gravity and the electromagnetic spectrum and other things that it doesn't care about your opinion. It just is the way it is. And the beauty of it is nobody has to believe what I say. I lay it out to groups. I always work with groups of people, because then the group responds with the accuracy of it. So very quickly, all the gorillas get together. So, oh yeah, that's exactly how we feel. Yep, exactly. And all the foxes are like, you ain't telling me what to do. No one's telling us what. No one's going to tell us what to do. And all the gorillas are looking at the foxes like, oh, I'm trying to tell foxes what to do. Foxes will not be told what to do, ever.
No, yes, they don't. We won't be told what to do.
And gorillas like telling people what to do.
Foxes, authority, get out of here.
Because from an evolutionary perspective, foxes, there's an aspect of the human psyche that had to stand for freedom. And that's what they stand for. And the most imbalanced expression of the gorilla sovereign realm is the tyrant. So there must be an opposing energy to rebel. Mm-hmm. So much. My brain's exploding.
I just want to the fox is so alive in me when someone tells me what to do. I'm just I would rather die.
Yep.
I would rather die than submit to your rule. And it doesn't even matter if sometimes what you're asking of me is even rational. There's still a part of me. It's like, I will even, and this is an example in our relationship, like I'll have something planned to do and Meg will come in and tell me, remind me to do it. And I'll instantly want to, the desire plummets. Completely dissolves. I'm like, I'm not going to do it now. And I get agitated and I'm like, how dare you? Even, I get frustrated at any form of authority telling me what to do or forcing me to do something, or I feel it's a force, or I feel, if any time I feel obligated, my entire motivation, any momentum that I've created, I'm like, not doing it, instantly stall. Is there a way that you could explain maybe a dynamic that is playing out in a relationship and then how they could shift that, like a little example?
Possibly. Let me first say that you and roughly 25% of all humans experience what you just said. Mm-hmm. It's deeply entrenched in the psyche. Mm-hmm. It's not childish protest. Like, this is so observable that it is an aspect of the human condition. Mm-hmm. However, is that going to be good for raising a child with the love of your life?
No.
Very good. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
It's just not. So what we can say is like, okay, so we can explain that this aspect of the psyche is literally been formed over millions of years of evolution to the point that we are where we are. Mm-hmm. And protecting and standing for freedom is that important to nature. Mm-hmm. And the fox realm is the guardian of freedom, which means even when the love of my life tells me something that's in my best interests, I have a very negative reaction to that. Even though it's well-meaning, she loves me, it's good for me, it's going to move life forwards, and she's just doing it to remind me. That's how deep this goes.
Yeah. And I would say that I would argue that I'm more aware and I'm getting better at it. And sometimes it's more just, hey lover, thank you for reminding me. I can feel a part of me that doesn't want to do it, but that's just the part of me that was like, I don't want to be told what to do.
Yep.
Thank you for reminding me. And like, There's been so many moments more and more where we've been able, and a big part of that 5-day course was more just about like actually speaking what's going on. Like, it gave me the ability to speak about what's going on inside of me when the reminder comes through from Meg, or when there's a directive from her that I'm like, oh, no, don't want to do that.
Yep.
And it's been really super powerful.
Okay. To keep it on a personal theme for a moment. So often when women become mothers, whether they have a gorilla nature in them or not, gorilla urges rise up. It's natural because mothers have to address the details. They have to know when the nap time is, when the next food is, when was the food, when's someone coming home, what bed needs to be changed. Like it's about, this idea that this idea of multitasking or holding multiple things in their minds, but the ability to plan, like they know how many nappies are in the house. They should do. That's important, right? So what I'm saying is that you're likely to have more of what we would say are like guerrilla energy or guerrilla style communications. Mm-hmm. And raising children is stressful for a number of reasons. Your capacity to interpret those communications in a non-fox way could be the difference.
Yes.
Because it's in you to naturally stand for freedom. And there's times when that's really appropriate, right? When somebody walks into, let's say, what we're doing today. Let's say somebody walked in and started telling us what to do. It's like, no, we know what we're doing. Please stand down, for example, right? That's when it's appropriate. But when somebody says something that's absolutely in everyone's best interest and we can't cope with that, that's an upset child. Mm-hmm. So we want to do less of that.
Yes.
Yeah. And this, of course, is why archetypal wisdom and the work we do at Archetypal Relationships is so transformational and so life-changing, because we basically help people move from their survival archetypal reactions and triggers and upset child behaviors to the mature, balanced expression. Like the journey from fox to magician, the journey from immature, imbalanced sheep reactions to mature, balanced lover, the journey from immature, wolfy outbursts to mature warrior, and finally the journey from easily bossy, guerrilla energy to mature, balanced sovereign. That journey is not easy. It's not obvious. If it was obvious, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah.
It would be easy. And part of it is that journey is hidden from us. The answers are hidden. They are incredibly difficult to find, and I don't have time to explain why.
Yeah.
But the work we do is help people navigate that journey from a lifetime of easily triggered, highly reactive, ineffective survival behavior to a lifetime of mature, balanced, centered, mature reactions. Unafraid, unapologetic, and very difficult to offend an elder. And we interpret all the circumstances better. And this is the journey. So I think of myself as a recovering sheep. I'm a recovering sheep fox. And this journey to mature lover and mature magician is the journey of our lives. But it's incredibly difficult. It's because it's hidden. It's hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel it's almost like, like the awareness is the first step. Is like what I took from the quiz and then the 5-day training was, I'm now aware of this. Like I can't unaware of this. What's the opposite? How do I get rid of it? Like it's like once I'm aware of it, I now can do something, but I can't go back. And I think this is like what you said about if you are in a relationship or if you're in a dynamic where you are butting heads or you're looping and you're experiencing the same thing over and over again, the first step is becoming aware. And that's what I really found was like, this awareness gives me the ability or it gives you the hope. It's like, there is a way.
Totally.
There is a way. And I think for a lot of people in relationships that love their partner but are struggling with these dynamics or this reactive behavior from both sides, when you become aware of something that gives you hope, you're then able to start that journey from immature into a more mature state.
Yeah, because then your life is better. It's not complicated. It's just everything's better. Everything's better when we don't react as an upset child. Everything's better.
Yes.
A couple of quick stories, and I could tell you hundreds of stories. One just came to my mind. A man recently came and did the 5-day training and then came and did the Revelation program, which is our first 8-week program. And he said, afterwards, I've been married 41 years. He was 61. I've been married 41 years. Everyone in my community knows me as my wife as we have an exceptional relationship. Like, he was just straight up about it. He said, I wish I had known this 41 years ago. It would have saved me so much. And this is the guy that's nailed it. Nailed it. And there's so many stories of people. I work with a lot of people, interestingly, that have been searching for answers for decades. Studied psychotherapy, studied counseling, done these communication courses, got these diplomas, and they're still searching. Read every relationship book worth reading for 30 years. And they come and find this, and I don't like saying it unifies everything, but it kind of fills in a lot of the gaps.
And I also want to speak into that as like archetypes for me has always been a men's work thing. It hasn't been a relationship thing as such. King, warrior, magician, lover. I'm sure if there are any men listening, you've more than likely read that. The Way of the Superior Man, you've more than likely have read that. A lot of these things are really, for me, have been like male focused.
Yeah.
And to bring it into a dynamic where especially if you're in a male-female relationship, and we're just going to focus on that right now, is like if you're in that, those archetypes, it's almost like, I go do that with the men. And I don't know, and I can bring that to my relationship, but it doesn't go into the relationship dynamics as such, where we can both understand the archetypal agendas that we have and be able to learn how to meet each other in a more harmonious, mature way. So what I feel too, man, is like I love archetypes, and I've been deep in the archetypal world from a men's work perspective, doing the retreats and helping men understand their shadows and how to step more into their power. But then what you bring with your body of work is this weaving, or like you said, this unifying that I found was like, oh, I can now actually, my partner and I can actually start to understand ourselves better and have something that really paves the foundation for our relationship.
Yeah, very good. So Moore and Gillette put the word masculine on the front page of their book. There's nothing wrong with that, because they didn't say male, they said masculine, which is an important distinction. But I lead this material to large groups of men and women. Every single time, without fail, everybody in the room sees themselves in these descriptions.
Yeah.
100% every time. And it's for everyone.
I think it can be really easy to get lost in the masculine and feminine is so charged these days across the internet around, like, if you put masculine in front of something, instantly it's like, well, no, that's not women. Or you put feminine in something, men like, no, that's not for me. And there can be this it can really easily divide the room and create this. It can sometimes create more separation unless you've got the time to. And Meg and I speak a lot about polarity, and we talk about the nuance and how it's not. It can be so easily misused or weaponized. And what I feel with yours is it doesn't have that charge where it's like, oh, cool, like the fox isn't masculine or feminine, the fox is the fox. Yep. The gorilla isn't masculine or feminine, it's the gorilla, and it's the qualities or these traits that, or these agendas that we can all relate to or understand without it having a biological or a gender-specific kind of approach.
Very good. I don't ever talk about gender. I don't need to. I just lay out my findings. Because there are female wolves that marry male sheep.
Yes.
And there are female gorillas that marry male foxes.
Yeah.
There are male wolves that marry female sheep. It does not matter. Archetype is beneath gender.
And it also, it kind of removes the right or wrong as well.
Absolutely.
That's what I feel like, you were talking about some of these, and it's easy, you could label a man who has the sheep archetype, the nice guy. And you could easily make the nice guy wrong. But it's actually like, this is my survival toolbox that I've created.
Yeah. I would say, this is my contribution to the village. This is my gift. And you can argue that the distinction between kind and nice, but the simple reality is nature didn't make a mistake. Some men are alpha warrior killers, and they will kill to protect the innocent. And who are they killing? They're killing other wolf warriors that are much more narcissistic and sadistic and imbalanced. That's their job, is to protect the innocent. The benevolent wolves and warriors protect the innocent from the malevolent wolves and warriors. That's fascinating. But nature didn't make a mistake. There are female sovereigns, queens. There are female warriors. I work with lots of female wolves who are like, no one's ever explained how I feel on the inside until now. And there are gentle men, and it's fine. And it's just, this understanding changes everything.
Yes.
It's just, I have this glorious experience week in, week out, listening to people share on group calls the astonishing difference this has made in their partnership, their family home, almost every parent that's ever done this work has said the same thing. I'm having the best relationship with my child I've ever had, ever. I worked with a lady, she had triplet boys. They were 22 when she found me. And they're identical, but they were different archetypally. Yeah. She read every single book on raising boys that exists. She said, if I don't have it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them explained that they might be different archetypally. Not a single one. And it's not that the people writing the books on raising boys aren't good men or women doing their absolute best to contribute. It's just everyone speaks through their archetypal agenda, and how they raise their boys and their archetypal agenda is somehow the way that they should share with the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. But until you understand the nature of the psyche, it's maybe accurate for some people.
And I'm the eldest of four, and we're each a different archetype. If I was to put all four of us based on your body of work, I'm the sheep. My next sister's the gorilla. My next sister's the fox, and then my younger brother's the wolf.
There you go.
And we all, if I tried to, and I did this, I tried to make them all see, or I had an agenda, and they all had to live by my agenda because I was the eldest. Agenda. We're kind, we look up, we don't break in this. And my sister Eliza, she's in system oriented.
Absolutely.
Incredible. My sister Whitney, don't tell her what to do, ever. And she'll actively go against the rules to almost flex that freedom agenda. And then my little brother, fiery, like instantly protect. Yep. It's so funny because he and I get along so well. And he's the wolf and I'm the sheep. And we now, through like the work that I've done across the board, but also, understanding your work to the degree I do, I no longer try to get him to see life the way I see it. I can accept that, hey, you're a warrior, man.
Yeah.
And that's the way that you move in the world. And I'm a little more touchy-feely, and that's okay. And we can complement each other and we can support each other. And it's like you said, it's not just about the intimate relationship that you have with your lover. This filters out into all worlds. And it makes me a better team, better member of the team, because I can understand my team better.
It's understanding. The biggest issue in all relationships in the world of good, kind, decent people, right? The biggest issue by volume, nothing comes close, is confusion. Nothing comes close by volume of the distress and dysfunction of people's lives. What is the confusion? It's archetypal confusion. So by volume, the number one solution to distress, breakdowns, heartbreak in relationships and family homes between good people is not understanding our archetypal differences. That's it.
Man, I feel that we're sort of
scratching the surface.
Yeah, I feel like if we go any deeper, we're going to just be here for the rest of the day, and we've got things to do, of course. Yeah. But man, what is a great place? We have a solid group of listeners that come back every week and love what Meg and I talk about. And a big part of this next sort of iteration of the podcast is giving people different arenas to go and explore. So these guys, they've never heard of your work, most likely, unless they've seen some of the stories that I've shared from when I was doing the training. Where's the best place for them to start with you? And what is it, and if they like what they've started with, how do they get into your world and learn more?
Thank you for asking. So I'm sure you're going to add the link below, but the first place to go is archetypalrelationships.com. If you wanted to visit the website, you can do the quiz. The quiz is free. It's on the website. It's right there at the top. You can just click on the word quiz and you'll get the answers. You'll get some answers straight away. If you're listening to this and you know instantly that it's time for you to transform whatever relationship in your life that matters to you, send an email straight away to info@rorykilmartin.com. info@archetypalrelationships.com.
Yep.
And mention this podcast and give us your details. If you want to book a call with a member of my team, the web link is ar-calendar.com. ar-calendar.com. If you go there and book a call, just mention in the note this podcast, and we will have a very special deal and discount for you to come and discover this work, as my way of saying thank you to Jacob for inviting me to come and speak. Do it now, because we run our main programs 3 times a year. And depending on when you watch this, we're starting one quite soon. So if you want to act now and jump on this, and because it's instant results. Like it's instant insights and it's instant results. So if you're in a relationship with a child or a partner and it's going in the wrong direction and you want instant results, just book a call, ar-calendar.com, mention this podcast, and we'll take care of you. All right?
We'll put all those links down in the show notes, of course, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of the links will be in the show notes. All of Rory's details will be there. Simple as that. And yeah, I can vouch for I went and did the 5-day training and got a lot out of it. And as I step, literally, I'm days away from becoming a father. I'm excited to deepen into your work over the coming months and years, bro, and learn more and more so I can be that father that I want to be for my child, and also have, like you said, I want to have an awesome, enjoyable life. So it's not just for the people that I'm relating with, it's for me as well. And I think that's super important. You get to do this for yourself. Remember that, like, this work is not just for you to be having better relationships for everyone else around you. It's for yourself as well.
Yeah. I would finish by quoting James Hollis. The number one thing you can do for the people you love, or the most loving thing you can do for yourself and the people you love, is to render yourself more conscious. It's not the second most loving thing, the third most loving thing. It's not in the top 10. It's the most loving thing you can do for yourself and the people you love is render yourself more conscious. Archetypal wisdom for me is the number one route to render yourself more conscious in relationship to yourself and others. And I've been looking for 38 years.
Here it is. Go check it out. Hit the links below. Thank you for listening, guys. We'll see you next week for another episode. Bless up and big love.
Thank you.
Peace. Yo. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Sex, Love, and Everything in Between. Now, if you'd like to stay connected with Meg and I, you can head on over to Instagram and follow me at @TheJacobO'Neil. And where can people find you, lover?
At b.meg.o.
Amazing. And yeah, guys, check out the show notes for all other information in regards to what we've got coming up. And yeah, we're super, super grateful that you guys have taken the time to listen in to this podcast. If you do have any topics or any questions, like I said, hit us up on Instagram and we'll see what we can do. Apart from that, have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks for being here.
Big, big love.